when Garrett mentioned we need to focus on our biggest asset, which is our people,
That's
right?
right. Well, the people is what builds it, right? I've driven around with some superintendents, project managers, and it's pride to say, hey, that road, I worked on it several years ago, to their families, right? Their kids are driving down the street and they're saying, hey, all these utilities were made by us, right? That thing that you have inside of you that gives you that pride of continuing to do what you do. For me, just being slightly part of that by bringing quality people, not just any people, right? That's the game changer.
There are too many lives that are depending on Moss for us to fail. Well, Mr. Abraham, thank you for coming on today. Too Big to Fail is a big part of Moss Utilities, and this is what week 2, week 3.
That's right. I can't believe seems longer, to be honest to you. But
It almost feels like I've known you for a while now.
That's
I don't know why, but that's just that feeling that I get. But nonetheless, thank you for coming on today. One of the things that Moss Utilities has really focused on its people, right? So now that we have this new director of talent and development, I feel like that's really gonna, put us in the direction that we need to be in, right? But let's talk a little bit about you. What's your background? Where you come from, and let's get to know you a little bit more.
Absolutely. So just coming on second week, as you stated, right from the beginning, you can sense the culture here, the diverse of people, right? Not to mention how people are treated, how people are or feel working here, right? It's like a big family. And I sensed that like the first couple of days. And then being able to go out in the field and talk to some of our operators, foremen and superintendents, I mean, it's a no-brainer overall to say that Moss does care about people, right? A little bit about my background. I have come from hospitality, restaurants. It's always been in talent acquisition or HR. Most recently, I did work with a heavy civil construction company, which it opened up the opportunity of seeing it from a different perspective, right? Construction to me before was picking up a shovel and being out in the heat, right?
It's that perception, right?
That's it. And it was nothing else, nothing more. But then whenever I started getting involved and actually seeing some of our operators, laborers making a pretty decent living, right, by doing that, it became something bigger for me. And then more or less it's like, okay, that's giving back to them, right? That's giving back to the community in the sense of, let me give an opportunity to someone that may not feel that this skill set or this industry could give them that, right? So for me overall, it was great to see that, and then just to keep doing it from a construction industry with Moss, it was a perfect partnership.
Yeah, I think construction as a whole naturally has this I don't know, I may be wrong, but this negative connotation that like you don't want to end up in construction, mm-hmm. right? And I think that it's incorrect. It's just not do you realize that the construction world builds houses, they build schools, they build roads, they basically are the infrastructure for everything moving forward in our lives. That's you know right. what I mean? And did that change a little bit just because of your background as far as your family, or I don't know, are you originally from here, Texas, or no?
No, I actually was born in Mexico. Someone gave us the opportunity to be here and do and have or live the American dream, so to speak. And doing so right now, it's like, okay, man, somebody gave me that opportunity. Let's give it to someone else, right? Let's keep giving it back to our people, and the people that actually believe in making an impact in this world, right? Doing better for themselves. And I think that's encouraging for me to continue to do what I do.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of relate to that in a way. So I was born here, right? But my parents were not born here. They're both from Mexico. But they've been living here more than they lived in Mexico. I think my parents were both 18 or 19, something like that.
Yeah.
And so they've been living here for 30 plus years now. And it's just crazy to think, where they're at now and the opportunities that, they have given us just because of coming over here, right?
Right.
And I sense that, even with the field, right? Um, these guys are here to work and make a living for their family,
Hmm.
right? And so I think when Garrett mentioned like we need to focus on our biggest asset, which are people,
That's
right?
right.
And I
That's
think
right.
bringing you on to Moss Utilities was just like game changer because it's like it was a necessary,
Yeah.
change that we needed here.
Well, the people is what builds it, right? You drive around. I've driven around with some superintendents, project managers, and it's pride to say, "Hey, that road I worked on it, several years ago." To their families, right? Their kids are driving down the street and they're saying, "Hey, all these utilities were made by us," right? So it's sort of that thing that you have inside of you that gives you that pride of continuing to do what you do. And for me, just being slightly part of that, by bringing quality people, not just any people, right? Quality people into the Moss Utilities team. I think that's where we can. That's the game changer, right?
Yeah.
That's where we can make an impact, to the company, but also to the community.
Yeah, to the community. And now that you say that, you know, uh, I think it's getting close to Thanksgiving, right? And you know, Moss is partnering up with North Texas Food Bank as part of like Moss Giving, right?
Hmm.
Just like you said, giving back to the community, and that's kind of who we are. Is we give back at work and outside of work, right? Giving back to the people that matter to us, and that's just part of Garrett's philosophy is giving, right?
Well, one of the things, as I mentioned, I've worked in different industries in the past, and one of the things that I've really enjoy is that we don't just talk the talk, we actually take action, right? And doing these little things that, we go forward with and partnering with different companies or different private organizations, right? I think for me, just to see that, it's amazing because again, we're not just talking about it, we don't just say it, we don't just promote it, we're actually taking action on these things and partnering with companies like North Texas Food Bank, and that's awesome to be part of that as well, right? To say to others, hey, we were part of giving back to the community
Hmm.
in this way, right?
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about Moss Utilities. Its core values, right? Is you know I've said this before in other episodes, but like the core values usually, typically at construction companies, it's like safety first, right? Some sort of version of safety first. Nowhere in our core values do you see safety, right? But we live up to expectations more than what people think, even though it's not on our core values, right?
That's right.
We don't just say it to say it. We actually live by it, and we focus on it. We invest in our employees day in, day out, right? Is actually doing the work and um, not just talking about it.
Absolutely, man, and bringing that up is it's a mindset, right? It doesn't it's cool to have a flag, it's cool to have it on your core values, but it should be a mindset, right? Naturally, it's like waking up, and you know what the next thing to do when you wake up, right? Whether it's go get a cup of water or brush your teeth, whatever it is, it should naturally just come, and I think for this company, Moss Utilities, we're definitely doing that as natural as it comes. Yes, we want to come in, learn something new, but also go back to our families the same way, if not better, than what we came in. And I think we're living it.
Yeah. So just to touch on a little bit more on your role here at Moss Utilities, what are some of your like big goals here at Moss that you kind of have envisioned? And you know at Moss here we tend to strive big, right?
There's got to be some structure and processes in place, right, to be able to be successful. Aside from that, really identifying and helping our field identify quality people that are coming in, right? Identifying other people like minded, right? That want to come in and be successful with the organization and grow with it. That's the idea, right? Having other individuals that are hungry to succeed, but also are humble and want to give back to the community. identifying those, bringing them in, and then growing together, being successful together.
Yeah, yeah. What was your initial thoughts of like the general supers, Jose, Julio, Christian, when you first met them?
Yeah, they're amazing. I mean, these guys are hungry to learn, are hungry to evolve with the company, understand where this company's based off, the mindset, the principles, right? And then just asking and wanting to learn more and more. It's hard to get that from individuals that have been on a ongoing in the same role or understanding that role for years, right? These guys know it from the bottom up. It's almost like one of those sayings, you can't train an old dog new tricks, right? But in this case, these guys are just all open minded.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what else is out there? Maybe there is something that I'm not sure about. What else can we do, right? What do we need to do every day to be better than we were yesterday?
Yeah, and I think that's a very good and important characteristic that those three guys hold, right? Is that they're very open minded and they're not just like set, well, why are we changing this? This has been working for X
Yes.
amount of time now, right?
Yes.
We're all very open minded when it comes to like improving processes, improving structure. It's just a matter of like collaborating together and finding the best route to executing those ideas, right?
Aside from that, I mean, these guys are very knowledgeable. I mean, these guys are, skilled and they're the best, in my opinion, at what they do. Just hearing them talking about the people, knowing each individual, by name and almost, to the point of, joke around about, hey, their family, come around and they know their kids. I mean, that personable, right? It's amazing being as big as we are and being able to have that connection with your foremans and your operators. It's amazing to know that.
Yeah, yeah, because I can almost assure you that there's a lot of companies out there that where they like, you know, to them sending a crew to a project could just be any crew,
That's right.
and that's not the case here. Is like, when we send a crew, we're gonna send them by name. We're gonna send the Juan Sanchez to that project.
That's right.
We're gonna
That's right.
send the Chacho to that project. We're gonna send the Miguel Leiva to that project, and that's a different feeling than just saying, we got a crew available. Let's send them, right?
Right.
And because that builds that much more rapport with
That's
those
right.
guys, the crews that we recognize them by name. Like all these events that we have with them, it's good to know them. Like, see them with their families and know the value that they bring here to Moss Utilities. So
It's huge. To your point, again, there's not a lot of companies that do that, right? And here to have that, it makes you feel like you're still a small company, but we're so big, right? Looking at it from an outside in perspective, it was like, Moss is pretty small. It seems like it's just the family, right? Well, it really is. But no, we're not small. We're bigger than a lot of people think.
yeah,
Even coming in, right? It's like, man, we have how many crews? 50 plus crews? Like, that's amazing, right? And to be able to have and speak to each individual the same way, right? As to, hey, I've known him for this many years, or even if it's 6 months, right? You bring them in as part of the family and make them feel welcome, right? Just like they did me.
yeah, yeah.
But it starts somewhere, right? It starts from the top, in my opinion, from the top to bottom, right? From Garrett's vision to then you have Parker and operations, right? Who's guiding and leading the team, and it goes from there to Julio, to Jose, right? To Christian. I mean, it starts there,
Yeah.
and they've sent it out to the teams.
They set the tone.
That's right.
They set the tone. Do you feel like, I know you know Spanish pretty well, and so do you feel like that's been a pretty good pro advantage that you have in connecting with people, getting good quality people?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely an advantage in my position, in my role, just because I can connect with them in that matter. Funny story, my very first day, I got to meet with several operators that started, and just talking to them in Spanish, one of them kind of looked at me shocked, like, oh, I thought you were going to be presenting today. And he looked at me and he said, well, I'm glad you can speak Spanish, so that way you can answer any questions that I may have. And I said, of course, man, that's what we're
Yeah.
here for.
Yeah, and what's good about that is that, luckily enough, we do have, Spanish speaking, safety advisors. I think that's like one of
Yes.
the most important aspects. Like I get it. We are, in the States, and English is a primary language, but you just have to understand your workforce, right? You have to understand your workforce and be able to touch home when it comes to like being meaningful, as far as like we care about you. Like if you tell them in Spanish that you care about them, it's gonna hit different than you just
Yeah,
speaking English to them and it kind of going in through one ear and going out
that's
the
right.
other, right?
Right.
But yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that, um, someone in your position is gonna help, kind of push us in the right direction.
They feel like they can relate, right? They feel like they can relate when you start talking about, your own story and their story, and you start joking around. Before you know it, you're laughing, and you're in a more comfortable position, right, as a candidate.
Yeah.
And then you feel like, oh man, these guys they know where I'm coming from, right? They understand some of the struggles or some of the challenges that I'm facing. And yeah, we do. We want you to know that we do. And we're here to help you, right? At the end of the day, we're here together, right? We're on the same race. I mean, we're all going for the same things to better ourselves and to give back to our families, right? Something better in
Yeah,
life.
yeah. I think you kind of beat me there to that a question I had for you is, you know, if you could give a message to a worker out there, whether it's a foreman, operator, superintendent, what would you tell them?
Well, in regards to the organization, if you're out there looking to making a career change, this will be it, man. Moss Utilities will really take care of you. We mean it. We're not just saying it. We are who we are. You can see us. You can see our platforms on social media. We're very transparent in a lot of things that I feel that it puts us in the right position to say, hey, this is who we are, right? It's not for everyone, and it's okay, right? But it's for the right one. So I would say for anyone that's looking for that, this is who we are. Reach out to us, and we can communicate and express what opportunities we have with us. In regards to any person out there that's just wanting a change or wanting more development, right, or looking for growth within personal but also in their careers, again, Moss Utilities gives you that, right? It's very impressive that as a company we look at individuals with experience, but also individuals that not necessarily have the experience, but are wanting to tackle something new, right? And to me, that's amazing, also. So, come join the Moss Utility family, and we'll be here to answer any questions.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah, that kind of falls in line with being too big to fail, right? Not necessarily that we're a big organization, like we've mentioned, and Kelly really touches on this. Is like, there are too many lives that are depending on Moss for us to fail, right? And I think just adding the right people to Moss is going to help really live up to those expectations. It's too big to fail. So we talked about your first day here at Moss, right? So uno de tus primer días aquí en la compañía, pasaste por la nueva orientación
Correcto.
y mencionaste que uno de los nuevos empleados que también empezaron a hablar, comunicar en español, ¿verdad? Hablamos de que el español poder hablar el español es un gran impacto, especialmente en la industria de la construcción, ¿verdad? Am, ¿Qué tanta ventaja piensas tú que eso te da a ti para poder hacer tu trabajo?
Bueno, es una ventaja grande, porque en sí, si tienes esa posibilidad de hablar con ellos, conectar en ese aspecto, y ellos te miran y dicen, oh, sí, sí sabes español, como que esa conexión crece, ¿verdad? Inmediatamente ellos sonríen, se sienten como que um, estás más disponible a ayudarles, se sienten más conformes, ¿verdad? En ese aspecto. So, como dije, mi primer día fue de que empecé a hablar con uno de los operadores y inmediatamente dijo, wow, me da gusto que hay alguien que pueda entendernos y que pueda hablar español, porque así cualquier pregunta yo tenga, yo te puedo decir a ti.
Yeah.
Y ese es el punto, ¿verdad? El punto es de que aquí estamos para ayudarles, aquí estamos para contestar cualquier pregunta que ellos tengan, sea de beneficio, sea de su posición, sea del desarrollo que ellos quieran, ¿verdad? Muchos vienen entrando y dicen, ok, ¿qué pasa después? Soy labor, soy pipe layer, ayudante. ¿Qué pasa después, verdad? Y poder ser de un parte de ese programa, de ese desarrollo, de decirles, ¿sabes qué? Puedes hacer esto después, ¿verdad? Y ese es el proceso. Estate con nosotros cierto tiempo. Dale ganas, cada día ven y dale el mejor que puedas, ¿verdad? Y mejorar tú. Y en sí, de regreso, te vamos a ayudar en entrenarte en otras áreas, sea operador, sea lo que sea, donde quieras ir, ¿verdad?
Ujú.
Más Utilities ofrece esas oportunidades. Y en mi opinión, saber el español y poder decirles eso en el principio, enfrente, cuando ellos están comenzando, hace más impacto
Ujú.
en que ellos quieran quedarse más tiempo.
Sí, 100%. Yo estoy de acuerdo contigo y esa es una de las características más importantes que, que un trabajador en la construcción puede tener. Yo lo que nunca he entendido es cuando hay compañías que tienen gerentes de seguridad o mayordomos ah, del campo o superintendents que solamente saben inglés, porque alguna cosa de comunicación te puede fallar muchas cosas, ¿verdad? So, si no puedes comunicar con ellos efectivamente en el lenguaje que ellos mejor entienden, entonces va a haber fallas.
Ujú,
Naturalmente va a haber fallas, ¿verdad?
ujú.
So, por eso para mí eso ha sido una de las cosas más importantes, es poder comunicarnos con ellos efectivamente y
Así
darles
es.
el mensaje que queremos darle para que ellos mejor nos entiendan, ¿verdad?
Así es.
Desde el principio, como tú dijiste, la nueva orientación, desde entrenamiento que les damos, desde juntas que tenemos, cuando damos las juntas de los mayordomos, son en inglés y en español,
Ujú.
¿verdad?
Así es.
Esos para poder aclarar el mensaje para ellos,
Así
¿verdad?
es.
Mejor. Cuando mando yo personalmente, mando un correo electrónico y se los mando a ellos. No solamente se los mando en inglés, también en
Ujú,
español, ¿verdad?
ujú.
Porque no nomás se lo quiero mandar en español, porque lo que les va a ayudar es poder leerlo en inglés también. Porque en
Claro,
el campo no nomás es en español, ¿verdad?
claro.
A veces tienen que hablar con el contratista general, ¿verdad? Que solamente sabe inglés,
Ujú.
o con el inspector que solo sabe inglés, o con el fire marshal que nomás sabe inglés. Eso también les va a ayudar a desarrollarse
Ujú.
y sentirse más cómodos para hablar el inglés y en español.
Así es.
Muchas de las veces cuando les hablo, les contesto en inglés, pero al propósito,
Yeah.
¿verdad? Porque ellos ya empiezan como se sienten cómodos conmigo, me empiezan a hablar en inglés un poco.
Ujú.
Y luego ya después de tiempo me transiciono un poquito más para el español, para
Ujú.
que ya se sientan más cómodos. Pero, I mean, el español es una ventaja bastante grande, especialmente aquí en Texas,
Sí.
donde la mayoría de nuestros trabajadores hablan español. Puede ser un español diferente, ¿verdad? Porque muchos sabemos que el español de México, tan solo la parte norte de México con la del sur, es
¿Son diferentes?
completamente diferente.
Yeah.
Si vives en Chihuahua, comparado si vives en Zacatecas, el español es diferente.
Yeah.
Usan diferentes palabras,
Yeah.
diferentes dichos, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
Hasta el acento empieza a cambiar,
Así
¿verdad?
es.
Am, mi familia son de Michoacán y Jalisco, ¿verdad?
Ajá.
So, cuando escuché por primera vez el español de Michoacán, es un poquito diferente, ¿verdad? No es nada malo, ¿verdad? Pero es un poquito diferente
Yeah.
comparado al que yo estaba impuesto, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Y mi mamá no agarró mucho ese acento porque pues ella se mudó para acá cuando estaba joven.
Yeah.
Am, y esa es una de las cosas que queremos enfocarnos es de que el campo reciba el mensaje
Ujú.
de la mejor forma que ellos lo entiendan, ¿verdad? Porque también les damos una de las cosas que Garrett quiso hacer es darles clases de inglés.
Eso está fenómeno,
Yeah.
¿verdad? Esa es una oportunidad, en mi opinión, ¿verdad? Porque yo entiendo, el 80% de las personas en construcción, en cualquier compañía, ¿verdad? Especialmente en este estado, hablan español, ¿verdad? Eso es algo que si puede la compañía darle el apoyo, es genial para ellos, ¿verdad? Igual para la compañía, porque obviamente comunicación es crítica y si no podemos comunicarnos con ellos, entonces puede fallar algo, ¿verdad? Hay chance de que algo pueda
Yeah.
fallar, especialmente el safety o algo que sea crítico,
Ujú.
¿verdad? Ahora, yo entiendo que hay posiciones, ¿verdad? Uno que quiere desarrollar o crecer en la compañía, hay posiciones que se requiere estar en juntas o dar juntas, ¿verdad? Por decir un superintendent, ¿verdad? Si quiere dar una junta, es necesaria que él o ella tenga que hacerla en inglés, ¿verdad? Y
Ujú.
cómo podemos ayudarles como compañía, ¿verdad? Y eso me encantó mucho de saber que Garrett ofrece a esas personas la posibilidad de atender a una escuela donde ellos puedan entender inglés o puedan aprender inglés. Um, para mí eso, y si muchos que están fuera lo escuchan y lo saben, para ellos me imagino que también dicen, wow, qué grande o qué buena esa compañía es porque pueden ofrecer eso, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
Que
No,
beneficia a uno.
y no tan solo el lenguaje, pero simplemente la cultura, entender la
Así es,
cultura.
así
Okay,
es.
una de las juntas que tuvimos, creo que fue este año, si no el año pasado, que tuvimos un town hall meeting, ¿verdad? Es de las juntas que tenemos con la oficina y hablamos de cosas, ¿verdad? Lo abren a la gente de que si tienen alguna pregunta.
Ujú.
Y no sé qué me dio por decirle a Gary, porque cada año que para Navidad lo que daban normalmente, porque estamos en Texas, dan barbecue,
Ajá.
¿verdad? Y a mí personalmente, a mí me encanta el barbecue, ¿verdad?
Ah,
Pero pues yo crecí aquí y pues es una de las cosas que a mí sí me gusta. Pero el campo no está impuesto a esa comida,
son
¿verdad?
unos tacos.
Pues unos tacos, ¿verdad? Yo levanté la mano bien despacito y le dije, ¿podríamos cambiar el menú para el día de Navidad? Y me dijo, ¿qué? ¿No te gusta el barbecue? Dijo, no, sí me gusta,
Yeah,
pero
yeah,
el campo, ¿verdad? El campo, ¿qué es lo que quiere el campo? ¿Qué es lo que les gustaría más?
yeah.
Y pues, ¿qué más que unos tacos
Así
ya para
es,
ellos? Sí.
así es.
Y es lo que hemos empezado a implementar un poquito más en los eventos.
Ujú.
Am, Creo que el año pasado también tuvimos unos eventos con Moss U y pues vamos y contratamos a chilangos
Para
este,
hacer los
para
tacos.
hacer los tacos y llevan su combi y
Sí, sí, sí.
ponen sus mesas y la
Una
gente,
taquiza, ¿no?
exactamente, una taquiza.
Yeah,
Igual con el día de agradecimiento de los empleados, una taquiza otra vez y a
yeah,
los empleados les gusta eso.
yeah.
Um,
Lo que es tortillas y salsa, ¿verdad? En nuestra cultura nunca falta,
Ujú.
¿verdad? Y lo que es una buena comida, ¿verdad? En la mesa, ahí trae todos, ¿verdad? Los trae todos juntos, que se reúnan. Yo una cosa que me encanta más es cuando mi familia nos juntamos, ¿verdad? Como familia
Ujú.
y nunca falla. Mi mamá, ok, yo ya tengo el menú, ¿verdad? ¿Qué va a hacer? Y todos nos reunimos. O sea, eso es un sentir que es bonito, ¿verdad? Y para que más utilities lo pueda hacer con tanta gente que tenemos, es increíble. Pero sí lo hacemos, ¿verdad?
Yeah,
Y el mensaje sale.
yeah. Bueno, me dio mucho gusto hablar contigo, especialmente que podemos comunicar en español y darles el mensaje al campo, a nuestras intenciones para poder ayudarlos
Ah,
a sobresalir.
fue un placer y gracias por tenerme.